Hello everyone, today we have an Uncle Benjamin deck, which I never thought was going to be a thing, but it fits very well in this shell, in this home. So this is going to be primarily a Scream Craven kind of movement style of deck, just because you get so much value from Scream as a card. The positive buff on your cards and the negative affliction on theirs is so problematic. And then not even thinking or taking that into the equation, just moving their cards can be so disruptive to the enemy's game plan. So we have Uncle Benjamin, as I mentioned. We have Killmonger as a way to take out Uncle Ben. And right now, a lot of decks like Thanos have started really creeping up in the common meta. So like Thanos Zoo is fairly common right now, and it performs really well, but you can get a big advantage by being able to have that Killmonger come down and swing those lanes back in your favor. Right now, Killmonger has not really been ran in any kind of top-end meta deck for a little while, and so we've gotten a little bit greedier with the one cost. If you think Hydration Robert, if you think even Loki, or sometimes Nebula, Killmonger can come in and swing those lanes back in your favor. If you run into Clutter, which I'm sorry, you guys, I promoted a couple of weeks ago. If you run into Clutter, Killmonger absolutely shuts that down because it's very hard to cap out a lane without relying on like a rock or a Titania or a Hood or an acid arrow from Kate Bishop. It just really shuts that down and makes it difficult to win in a matchup that has Killmonger. And then we also spawn Spider-Man out of it, which helps our Scream Craven movement game plan. We have the Lady Deathstrike as a secondary way to kill Uncle Ben, and right now Lady Deathstrike can have some pretty big targets. A lot of cards kind of get floated that are below that 4 power range, so 3 or less, and if you can destroy them early, you can save yourself a lot of grief. Taking out Mobius before it's a problem. Dracula, if you still run into any kind of Apocalypse discard, which is not super common, but still a thing. Iron Man. You can take out Mystiques. You can take out so many high priority, low power initial cards that it gives you those winning opportunities that otherwise are very, very tough to find. And then we also have Cannonball as that game-winning finisher. We don't have the Arrow. We don't have the Magneto. We cut the high end for the lower end just consistency. We always have cards that we're putting onto the board. We have a lot of consistent power that we're outputting. And then the last turn is going to be trying to either counter or disposition their high-end plays. So whether that be a Cannonball plus Miles, which is a lot of power to drop down on that last turn, or a Lady Deathstrike plus Miles can be really big at taking out a Bullseye when they're relying on discarding 7 swarms, and now all of a sudden they don't. That can lose them the game right there. And if it's on that last turn, it's very tough to see that coming. And so then you can get some big cube equity games out of those last turn big finishers we have. And then as most decks these days, we have Shang-Chi. If you float a high power card, you're gonna get punished more often than not these days. Shang-Chi has value in spades with how many like buff cards we have and just how much high power output we have right now. Shang-Chi is a very valuable target and fits into this deck very well. I've been using this deck the last couple of days to climb in Infinite and gain SP. The only games that I tracked were about 15. I played a lot more offline or not at my computer, and the win rate while tracked was over 71%, which is phenomenal for top 200-300 matchups. Now, the meta may shift. Killmonger may get less and less valuable if you start seeing a lot of Luke Cage. Scream and Rocket and Groot become much less valuable, but as long as you're not seeing much Luke Cage, and if you do see a Luke Cage, potentially targeting it with Lady Deathstrike is the chef's kiss to be able to swing those back in your favor. But if you're seeing a lot of it, this becomes a little bit less effective, a little bit more awkward. Maybe you pivot into something else, but at least for right now, with everything that I'm seeing that is popular, this is my go-to deck. This is so strong. I've been enjoying it so much, and honestly, I think Scream probably needs a little bit of a nerf. But until then, we're going to abuse it as much as we can. We're going to go ahead and jump over into a couple games. Thank you guys, as always, for being here. I hope you guys enjoy. They do get the extra draw. Let's go Rocket Raccoon, which I think we benefit from greatly here. And then we could always Spider-Man next turn to yank a card over. I almost want to snap this. That also feels maybe hasty. I'm going to do it, though. The Rocket Raccoon is going to be great because we right now we have a very distinct target of where is valuable to play. And so it's very likely that they play 2 or maybe 3 cards over in that lane. And so Rocket is going to scale immensely throughout the game. There are the 2 cards. And so now they'll have to make the decision of, do we just play in the left? Do we take the scaling but let the Rocket keep scaling? They can't play it into deep space because that is a very, very bad location for them. And so no Kitty Pryde anymore. We do have priority. If we didn't, we could potentially angle the Killmonger. I think what we're going to do is Spider-Man doesn't get it down within Lady Deathstrike range, unfortunately. I mean, we could still Killmonger. I don't think we're ever going to lose priority. I'm going to Killmonger. Next turn, maybe it's Cannonball. But we'll see. Ooh, they do decide to forego the extra scaling on their cards in order to stop our Rocket and Groot from scaling. So the Cassandra Nova goes up to 5. It's big. It's big. Unfortunately, it's really big. Athena actually, if they let it scale here, gets into Shang-Chi range, which is good for us. We could go Spider-Man, Sam Wilson. Just go Cannonball. Clear out a little bit of space in the Abbey. Into like a Shang-Chi Spider-Man next turn. Helps us make sure we lock down Muir Island. And then we can move the Rocket. He's going to be huge in potentially deep space. All right, so Cannonball pushes into deep space. It's fine. And then they do have the Havoc, which is going to scale twice. So it's going to be 8 power. That scaling on him is just immense whenever it gets going. So now Kitty Pryde comes back up. The Bass is in play. And they made sure that Athena could not scale, unfortunately. So that's really, really smart. Unfortunately so. But Spider-Man, this is 10. We're going to do something like this. We're going to move the Havoc, ideally into deep space where it cannot scale. And then we see. Beautiful. Okay. Good on the 1. And then we do have the players, which hopefully hits Athena. Beautiful. I could not ask for a better lineup. And then the US agent in the left is absolutely fine. We do lose left, but we win mid, we win right, we win the 4 cubes. Let's jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have rank 58 Lone. The first location is Celestial Burial Ground. We lost our Uncle Benjamin, and we got Hydra Bob. Not great. Not awful, I suppose. I'm going to go ahead and throw Hydra Bob, even knowing that he's likely to get destroyed. Now, if the opponent doesn't have 1-cost cards that they have on the ground, then maybe we keep him. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and go Spider-Man. Maybe he lands in Crimson Cosmos. We can get an early advantage there. And then they're going to have to play more expensive cards to overcome what we have there. Unfortunately, that is not how it happened. We went over to the left. Invisible Woman is a really big target for our Lady Deathstrike, but it's also a really big target for our Polaris. These locations are kind of boo-boo. I'm going to snap into it to move the Hydra Bob, but I'm going to Polaris to the left. That opens up the door for Lady Deathstrike on 5, but we still have to clear the Castle Zemo atrocity here to be able to play our cards. And they do play to the left. Their card isn't going to reveal because Invisible Woman, you're welcome. Hydra Bob over to the right is fine. And we get Miles. Miles ahead of you. I almost think I'm going to do something like Killmonger Miles here. Killmonger's going to switch to their side. We do take out our Hydra Bob, but we get the Miles on our side. Whatever they play is going to switch to our side. Lady Deathstrike is free for the left lane next turn. Wait. Okay. We traded killmongers. Beautiful. I don't mind seeing that at all. The cannonball could potentially solo Crimson Cosmos. Let's go Lady Deathstrike left to clear up whatever that mystery card is. Gladiator. All right, so it pulls the Rocket Raccoon. Unfortunate. And then Anti-Venom. Next card is free. If they have a Luke Cage, it's big. But otherwise... Cannonball. Cannonball, and then they have to swing the other 2 lanes, which is easier because we are pushing the 7 power out of mid instead of just being able to deal with it somehow or overtake it. So they could get lucky with where they stack. Ooh, they stack all in the right lane. We push Anti-Venom to the left. Right now, we are ahead over there by 1. Ronin comes in. If they have Luke Cage, we could be in trouble, even though we only have 2 cards. Thank goodness we are able to hold that one down. The left lane, I'm glad that they fully stacked in the right lane. They probably could have overtaken us. We'll take the 4. Let's jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have rank number 3, Dude. First location in the big house. They are running Sam Wilson, but they are not running like a Thor deck, so we don't know how much value Killmonger is going to give us here. We do get our Sam Wilson, which is nice to see. I'm going to play him to the... We're going to gamble a little bit. We're going to play him over to the right. Hope for the best. Let's see. Do they have their Sam Wilson as well? No Iron Patriot, which is fine. We move the shield over. We're competing for that right lane. And then Feast. Interesting. All right, let's move the shield over. I'm going to go ahead and play Scream. I don't know. We don't get a lot of benefit from getting the extra cards down. I'm going to do Scream to the left. I thought about over into the right lane just to make sure we were competing for the Feast lane, but we're not going to do it. And so they do get Cassandra Nova down. Had we played Scream, we wouldn't have won it anyways, unless we went with the Killmonger line, but that was inoptimal for us. Lady Deathstrike is okay. Could easily take out all of the Raptors, but that doesn't really do us much good. Let's move the shield. I'm going to go ahead and go with a Cannonball. Maybe we can cap out the Feast lane. And we always have the Killmonger later if we like need to swing it back in our favor somehow. But Cannonball gives us the potential full cap. Ooh, with a Cosmo over there. Beautiful. Exactly as we wrote it. They are now locked over there. With the Makari coming down, I'm now thinking Surfer stuff. And so let's see. If we do Spider-Man, Spider-Man pulls the Raptor over. Miles gives us the lead here. They're only going to get an extra 4 in the right lane unless they can do a double. The Spider-Man's guaranteed left. Problem is we don't have a big finisher besides like a Lady Deathstrike. But we'll see what we can do. The left lane, unless they have Sam Wilson come down, is now locked out as well. And so right now it's only going to scale by 3. I assume this is a 3 cost. Copycat, which ends up being, it doesn't matter. Ends up being, I'm curious. It ends up being Uncle Benjamin. And then we do get the retreat. We'll take the 1, even when we're not running Clutter. We are Clutter Kings. Let's go ahead and take the 1. We'll jump into the next. All right, next up we have JMP. The first location, Tinker's Workshop, gives us the extra energy to get Sam Wilson down on 1. Beautiful to see. Let's go ahead and do Sam Wilson. I'm going to go far right. They are not running a Sam Wilson deck. They are running a discard deck. So being able to potentially get Lady Deathstrike down could be big. Wish we had Scream instead of Sam Wilson to be able to take out this Morbius early before he scales. But since we don't, I think I'm just going to go ahead and drop Spider-Man. I typically don't mind the extra power being on the board to help us gain early prio. And with a T-Lane, I want as few cards in our hand as possible. So next turn is most likely Rocket Raccoon, but if we get Scream or Craven, there's a chance we go one of those plus Uncle Benjamin. And they do go Swarms. So I'm curious if they're going to go ahead and play their Swarms before a T-Lane, or if they're just going to shuffle them in and potentially have the bad draws. All right, let's go Rocket mid. I'm going to move the shield. We're going to shuffle 3 back in, pull 3 out, so we have a break even. They're also, at least right now, going to shuffle 3 in and pull 3. They play 1 swarm, but they generate 2 more. So they're going to have 3 potential swarms in their deck. And so now they're actually losing the amount of cards that they have visibility of. Let's move the shield. I'm going to go Scream. I'm going to Scream into the right lane. And then I think we go Uncle Benjamin mid. I don't really want to potentially pull the Morbius, which is why we're going to go mid. If we end up using Lady Deathstrike, it's going to jump around. It's decent for us. Let's see what they played over to the right. A Dakin, not great for us. Depending on how many swarms they pull. Ooh, a Collector is actually good, but we're going to kill our Scream in the process. Honestly, to stop a scale, I think it's worth it. I don't have any way to move one of their cards beforehand. I'm going to go ahead and sacrifice the Scream. That feels crazy to say, but that helps guarantee this lane, and then maybe we just win Cannonball, or we win mid with like a Cannonball play. And if not, we do have the Rocket that's going to make it hard for them to put much power there. Anyways, let's see. They could go MODOK this turn if they ended up having swarms. But Collector not being able to scale is great for us. They do have the MODOK. Let's see what they drew. Gambit, fine. Swarm. So now they have 2 swarms. And Scorn, wow. Not a bad repull. However, they made the mistake of getting Morbius up into Shang-Chi range. So now we can... have 2 swarms, maybe 3. We're going to swing the left lane with the Morbius, and then the Rocket Raccoon is just doing like a fly. He's rubbing his hands together menacingly. I assume that's 2 swarms. No, it's a Dakin. Oof, that's worse. Even if they discard the Dakin, it's now only going to be 6. And so then the Scorn comes in, and the Swarm, oh, that is a rough one. And then Swarm. Even if we kept Rocket mid, we would have won off of that. So we will gladly take the 4. Go ahead and jump over into the next one. All right, next up is MIR 982, the first location, Central Park. Even though we're not running Clutter, something like Spider-Man could potentially give us a full cap on a lane if we happen to get lucky. We also have both Raven and Scream, which is beautiful to see. We have Sam Wilson to help get that movement going as well. If we want to kind of veil the type of deck that we're running, actually, I'm going to go ahead and go Scream. Just in case they go Sam Wilson, Scream makes it really difficult for them to move that shield freely. And so I'm going to go Scream. We can do Sam Wilson later, Craven later. On turn 4, we can actually go Sam plus Craven, same lane, so that we can buff up both the Craven and the Sam Wilson and maneuver from there. The right lane being Danger Room. Yeah, interesting. I mean, we have Shanna. Shanna can guarantee get some power into the Danger Room. Now, I don't want to waste the Craven, though. So I almost think we go Sam Wilson mid. Feels kind of bad. And then we'll go Craven plus Spider-Man on 4. And then that allows us or enables the Miles Morales so that we can get the cheap Miles on 5. The shield also keeps it, so we could do like a Lady Deathstrike plus Miles or Cannonball plus Miles on turn number 6. Rocket and Groot, ooh, kind of kind of deadly in that left lane. So instead, we're gonna gamble a little bit. We need to keep him around 3 so Lady Deathstrike can hit. Let's go Kraven into Spider-Man. We're gonna see what sticks here. And if we have priority next turn, Lady Deathstrike is gonna take out the Rocket Raccoon. Unless they get, unless they move him wisely, in which case they could move him into Danger Room and then we're in trouble. Kraven does stick over there, which is good. The Squirrel goes to the left. We're not gonna scale their rocket because we didn't play there. And then Spider-Man actually gets absolutely whomped on. All right, let's go Lady Deathstrike. We could potentially sacrifice Uncle Benjamin into Danger Room if that ends up being the thing. Let's move the shield over to the right to buff up Kraven. Lady Deathstrike to take care of Rocket and Groot. As long as they don't move him this turn, we are good. Because that makes them have to gamble in Danger Room for that finisher. And we're going to have the cheap Miles, so whether it be Rocket, Miles, Uncle Benjamin, Rocket, Miles, whatever else, we have a lot of options. And so we do clear out that left lane. Beautiful, taking out the Rocket and Groot. Copycat comes in and actually hits the Killmonger. They get Loki, so they're going to have 1 discounted card. And it is not a not so dangerous Danger Room. My goodness. That is a tough one. So we don't have Killmonger because Copycat was Killmonger. Otherwise, the Loki plus Zabu would be fodder. We could Shanna. We could Cannonball, but I feel like Cannonball is risky. That's just going to push 5 out. I mean, that leaves 6. Actually, we do the shield, we do we do Shanna, we do Uncle Benjamin, we do Miles. That helps us buff here, helps us out here, gives us a fighting chance in the right lane, depending on if we turn into Spider-Man, what Shanna produces in the right lane. It gives us some chances. I actually want to go Shanna last, just in case we hit a 0 anywhere. So Uncle Benjamin, we go Miles, and then Shanna. We could go Rocket and Groot, knowing that they'll have to play in these 2 lanes, but I just don't think that's going to be as beneficial as the wide power that Shanna's providing us here. All right, so the 1 in the right, double in the left, and they give mid away. Uncle Benjamin sticks, Miles sticks, and then we get a squirrel. We get a squirrel girl in the right lane. So Juggernaut cannot trigger. They have the Quake, so they have the guaranteed land in the right lane in Danger Room. Depending on how big they go, it can't be very big. We will be able to lock down that right lane, or we lock down. Okay, they can't move any of the cards. They get our Spider-Man. We actually lock down all 3 locations. The Squirrel Girl came in pretty handy. They wouldn't have been able to Juggernaut otherwise, but it filled up all of our lanes, which was so satisfying. We will take the 4, and that is actually where I'm going to go ahead and end the video. Thank you guys, as always, for being here. This has been TLSG. Later, guys.